Michael D. Shaw is my guest. We are doing the program Monday evening at 7 p.m., which actually is a pretty good time for me, Mike. I don't know about you, but it sort of works out. It's a good day for me to focus on podcasting.
It's always a good time when
And
it's you.
I get a lot of other stuff going on, including that I'm now playing rock guitar in an adult band. So I'm busy with all sorts of
Now,
activities.
what era of music are you doing?
Well, the good stuff, rock and roll, Rolling Stones, all of it, the pop. I mean, just I'm doing a song by the Kinks. We're just doing all the good, 60s, 70s, 80s rock, which
All
is
right.
which is my age. And I'm pulling the guitar. I pulled the guitar out of mothballs, and I'm actually putting my hand back on it, and it's amazing stuff is happening.
You still have your chops. I mean, you can.
I do. I mean, apparently, I'm getting them back, and some people have said that they think I have chops. So we'll see what happens. I don't know if I'm ready to perform. We actually have a gig scheduled for in May, and I don't know. I mean, I might. I hope I don't like choke or anything like that. But we'll have to see what happens. Um, I just saw the documentary on Elvis, which was very good, by the way. Epic, good footage from his concerts toward the end. I mean, it wasn't really when he was really in rough shape, but it was sort of the Vegas period. But it's a good concert, good footage. It's not a documentary, but it just you get a sense of what he was about, and I recommend it. But on to politics. President Trump has drawn a line in the sand as we speak tonight. He said that if Iran doesn't open the Strait of Hormuz, all hell is going to break loose. And he said these are crazy bastards. They better open the effing channel.
Yeah.
We're talking now 24 hours from now is sort of where that lands. The Iranians, through indirect diplomacy being conducted in Islamabad, Pakistan, I guess that J.D. Vance is there as representing the United States.
Yeah.
They have said that they're not going to open the Strait of Hormuz or have a ceasefire unless the United States meets all these incredible conditions. It's very typical of Islamists. This goes way back. This goes back to the days of Hajj Amin al-Husseini, the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, and his negotiations with the Palestinian Jews before sovereignty. The conditions are ridiculous. It's they want everything or nothing, and they won't even.
It goes back probably even earlier than the Barbary pirates.
It goes back to the Prophet Muhammad. I mean, I don't want to go there too much because we could end up getting in big trouble. But just suffice to say that the biography is not exactly wholesome, and right, and the methodologies are not exactly easygoing, and the method being that they do not speak at all or negotiate at all with what they perceive to be the infidel, and that if they do, it's only a temporary agreement so they can regain and rearm, which is exactly what they've done. I mean, in this present war, they've rearmed themselves, and in periods of quietness. Certainly, that's true with Hezbollah on the northern border of Israel. Israel defeated them, they had an agreement, and then they immediately started rearming. And the same thing was true with Hamas. It is a perpetual war for them. It is this is a what Samuel Huntington, the Harvard social scientist, referred to as a clash of civilizations, and he made note of the fact that all of the borders of Islamic countries are bloody. He referred to it as the bloody borders because they are pushing out and expanding until they eventually attempt to conquer the entire world. It is an internationalist movement, very similar to communism, very similar to Nazism in a way, except they do it in the name of their God, as opposed to the communists who were atheists. But the end result is the same. Instead of revolution, you have jihad. Instead of, communist collective control, you've got Sharia. It's a cultural difference mainly, but the results are the same. You have this internationalist movement that is striking out to conquer all of their neighbors and to destroy anyone who's not pure enough. And that includes Islamic neighbors, by the way, who were seen as not quite Islamic enough. They're not pure enough. They're highly into this purity. And, we in the West can wag a finger, but we've had our own movements like that even recently. I mean, the internationalist movement, the neocons, in a way, they wanted to create American hegemony, with America being sort of the gendarme for the world, and a world order based on their vision. But we are now in a new time, I think, and I think that my friend Steve Turley, I think, is talking about this. He's writing a book about it. He's doing a good job. Where we have moved on from the neocon conception, the internationalist conception centered on the UN and all their internationalist organizations and their international banking groups and their finance. And we've moved into a civilizational modality. In other words, the United States under Trump, as he asserts the Monroe Doctrine, or he calls it the Donroe Doctrine, is basically saying that our nation is the center of a civilization that pretty much includes the Western Hemisphere. This is what was sort of asserted by Monroe, I mean, in an indirect way. And that other civilizations can take their place in their own realm, including China, India, Russia, the European Union, Africa. Each region can carve out its own civilizational pull, with usually one state as sitting at the center of it. In the case of us, it's us, the United States. And that this war that we are now in with Iran is as sort of the proxy for it, is a war between the old international order and this new civilizational alliance. Trump isn't trying to conquer Iran to nation build. This was the old way of doing things. The Bushes, right? And the
and by the way, did that ever work anywhere?
Absolutely not. It's a complete failure, and it's not. We basically are saying, if Iran wants to keep their miserable regime and oppress their own people, then that's their business. We simply are telling them that they cannot interfere in other regimes. They have to end their international aspirations and have their own state, as bad as it is, and mind their own business. They instead of building nuclear devices and supersonic missiles to fire at their neighbors, and this incredible network of tunnels by which they've carved out entire mountains. That's not to have a sovereign state. That is to conquer neighbors and conquer ultimately the world. They're involved in this radical Islamist, internationalist, illuminated approach. And again, the United States and the West are not immune to these kinds of movements. I'm simply noting that we are now confronting that movement. And it's essential that we win this war, because if we do, we're not only going to defeat Iran, but we're going to defeat this internationalist agenda. And we're going to assert national sovereignty. And the United States has allies in this regard. The Abraham Accord states, which includes Israel, of course, but also includes the Saudis, the Gulf states, and other Islamic states, that are basically saying, we want to have our individual sovereignty preserved. We don't want to be part of this order. We want to take care of our own people. We want to develop our own societies. And it's that group that is at war with this aggressive internationalist mullah controlled entity that now is running Iran. So what I would suggest is that this is why it is very important that we win this war and we do it quickly. It's really a situation that can affect the entire world if we don't.
Is there anything beyond Trump derangement syndrome that explains the hostility that so many of the pundits seem to have against this war?
No, I mean they just. I think I think their Trump derangement syndrome is quite real, but underneath that syndrome is the fact that I think they really are clinging to this old, rotten, internationalist, Anglo-American agenda. They don't like the fact that Trump is not, kowtowing to the United Nations and NATO
Well, here's what I don't understand, Chuck, and maybe you being a sociologist and so on can give some insight. I mean, I would understand people defending the old ways if they actually worked, but they never did.
Never.
It's like it's the same idea as coming out against RFK Jr., saying that somehow this is terrible and public health is being upset and the science and blah, blah, blah. Never mind the fact that it didn't work. Public health is a disaster. So why are they defending it? I've never understood it.
It's a combination of corruption in that they have a financial interest in defending it. Look at the amount of billions of dollars that go into this rotten establishment that have been transferred to them. And it's also ideological. They believe that the individual should not be sovereign. They think that everything should be, they should be thrown off center and controlled by them, and that in order to do that, people have to be dumbed down and demoralized, and that's what they're doing. They demoralize us with their lies and with their this sense of like disconnection, like nothing is ever going to happen. Everything, you get used to mediocrity, and you get, then they distract you with the the baseball season and with entertainment, which isn't working. I mean, it's Hollywood, which is going nowhere. It's falling apart. TV is
going nowhere, falling apart, and every day I'm surprised. I'm still surprised how there's no originality. What, they're remaking The Mummy for the umpteenth time? It's unbelievable.
I mean, it's very safe. I mean, first of all, I don't think, was it Bela Lugosi who was in the original Mummy? I mean, are they going to Boris Karloff? Are they going to have some? Are they going to do it better? I mean, that's a classic. I mean, that's it's like why not? It's like having a new Beethoven. I don't know. It's like these things are great works of art. I mean, you can't come in and they think they're going to continue. I mean, I don't know. It's like people. They guess that they just assume people are stupid, but I think that it's not making it. They're not. It's less and less relevant, and I think that they must know that at some level. The Democratic Party is not really making it. Apparently, it's
the same thing. I think they're afraid. I had a genetics professor that would make fun of his colleagues. I mean, let's be honest, that would pull out the same yellow legal pad notes and give the same lecture every time. And he said, and this was during a class, he said, "I'm sorry, these are my colleagues, but how could they do this year after year with the same notes, the same?" And it's like, there's no originality. They cling to the same stuff. And again, if it worked, that would be one thing. But it's in politics, entertainment, you name it.
Yeah. It's a form of insanity. I think I mentioned there's this pop psychologist who published a bunch of books in the 70s, one of which was called The Erroneous Zones.
Erroneous Zones.
You know who I mean? Dyer, I think his name was. James Dyer. And he's a psychologist. And he did his research. Most of his work was in mental institutions, where he did spend a lot of years doing surveys and studying the nature of mental illness. And one of the things, one of the basic functions of mental illness, he noticed, was people who continue to do the same thing or even say the same thing over and over and over again when they know that it's not right, it's failed, and that
There's plenty of people outside of the mental institutions are doing the same thing.
well, that's the point. It's a form of mental illness. Maybe it's a I think there's probably a sociological term for this when you have an entire people who are engaging in an activity that is not mentally sound, that is hurting people, and that they know it, but they continue to do it. And it's maybe it's a time when a society has lost its moorings, and it's no longer has basic moral and ethical codes in place.
Well, you see it in all walks of life. I mean, I was good friends with a fairly big time nutritionist, Diane Kress, and she said when she was coming up through the ranks, and she would notice that these diets didn't work, quote unquote. So she'd go to the people, the professors, whatever. Well, why aren't these people losing weight in this diet? Well, they're cheating on the diet. They're not holding to the diet. She said, no, I got hundreds of clients here. Well, no, so that was the stock answer. It's not that the diet was wrong. It was that the patient wasn't complying, and they just keep this again and again and
well,
again.
It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, and there's money involved on the table. I mean, that's why, like, how we've talked about how corrupt science is. They give grants to things in advance by companies that are making a profit, whether it be drug companies or companies promoting margarine, whatever, seed oil, stuff that's toxic, and it's a double benefit for them. Number one, they make a profit. Number two, they hurt people, so they get more people going to the hospital and dying younger and having illnesses that cost a lot of money to treat. So the medical industry makes out. And third, it's mental control, it's mind control, population control. You have a person who is not functioning at their capacity. They don't when you're not well, you don't have the mental capacity. Your pineal gland or whatever it is. I mean, the pineal gland, I think they say, is blocked. Right. And I don't know. I'm not going to go into that too much because I don't know a lot about it. But I mean, I've read a little bit. But I'm just saying. I mean, there's a lot of, you have to look at, follow the, cui bono, who benefits, right? Follow the money. I mean, there's a lot of agenda there, both in terms of money and in terms of power and politics. And it's the same thing with this whole phenomenon in this country of the incredible amount of waste that's being exposed. Now, I actually think that Trump is doing an amazing job of exposing this, and it's starting to trickle in. I mean, even with the complete blackout you have in your own state, right? The hospice scandal is bubbling up. All these other scandals, and on the surface, you would think that liberals, and I've had talked to liberals about this, they would be the first ones to be angry about this, right? After all, they have been promoting these programs all their lives. Look, they're giving money to people who can't afford to get daycare and to get hospice care and to get other benefits. And the federal government and state governments are spending billions of dollars. You would think that they'd be the first ones in line to try to root out the fraud. But they're the ones who are defending this and trying to cover it up. And it goes to this double agenda. It's financial. They're probably making a few bucks on it, or their friends are, and a lot of the money gets siphoned over to left-wing and Democrat political causes. And secondly, they want to they don't care. They want to transfer. It's the Cloward Piven premise. overwhelm the system to the point where it falls apart. And
Yeah,
then,
well, there's people that are part of the corruption, but I think even the sadder case are those that are true believers. Well, yeah, I mean, it could be 85% fraud, but we're still helping this thing. And, it goes back to my favorite Model UN Ethel Rosenberg thing. They're so dyed in the wool with this stuff that if you confront them, no, I can't believe it. My whole life is based on these liberal giveaway programs, and now you're telling me that it's all crap. It's too much.
well, I mean, maybe the approach to that is, then why not let's save the programs by getting rid of the fraud that's probably sucking out about probably up to 50-60% of it. I
Well,
mean,
okay, but here's the problem, Chuck. If you're going to do that, then you're going to have to acknowledge that there's a lot of fraud. All right.
right, and that's
And if you're a true believer, you can't come to that conclusion, because that means you have to agree, at least to some extent, with these horrible conservatives. And they're not going to do it.
They won't do it because Trump supports it. But
Yeah.
it's starting to move in the right direction. You've got still people like Nick Shirley and other journalists who are doing the hard work of going out and finding these situations. And it's popping up in every city. And there's rumors that he's coming to Boston. I can't wait. Boston is a mess. But you also have President Trump appointing J.D. Vance as the head of the committee to investigate fraud. And, Vance, for what better or for worse, he wants to run for president, and he's been given this chance. He doesn't want to look like Kamala Harris being given the border czar, right? I mean, he probably wants to get something done. Is a motivation, a political motivation.
I think in the case of Harris, it never occurred to her that she actually had to do something.
Right.
And
I mean, she never did a damn thing. I mean, I remember that interview. I think it was actually with Lester Holt, of all people, where he said, "So have you been over to the border yet?" She's like, "I've been to plenty of borders. I've been to France. I've been to the French Riviera." And so I'll get there when I'm ready to go. I mean, it was like, it wasn't a great look.
No, it wasn't a great look, and no one was even holding her to anything. But you just somehow couldn't push it.
Yeah, but yet she also ended up in the White House. So these people mean business. There are indications that they're losing ground for the midterms, which is only, I think, 6 months away. And they say that traditionally the party in power loses seats in the House and Senate, but this time around, it's really a major problem, because if they take the House and or the Senate, or both, God forbid, it's going to be a freaking mess. I mean, they're going to probably put thousands of people in prison. They'll probably put Trump in prison. And I'm not saying that to be flip. I mean, I mean it. They've said it.
But I don't see that happening, because
It'll happen.
Issue do they have?
Doesn't matter. They did. But what issue did they have for all of those? I'm talking about if they win. They have no issues to run on. But if they do,
That's what I'm saying. What are they running on? Because remember, as we've talked about several times, there is that hardcore 20 to 25% leftist cabal that you're not going to change. The only way that you can turn the House and the Senate is you got to get people to change, assuming you've eliminated the fraud. All right. So what exactly are they going to run on?
Well, so far they're behind, and usually at this point in an election year, the opposition party would be ahead. So I think that they are probably panicky. Maybe they're coming up with some kind of an October surprise. I mean, I think that it was Victor Davis Hanson noted that in these midterm elections, it's pretty much it all happens in the month before the election.
Yeah.
That's when things start to kind of consolidate. And
Who would you say is the leader? Who's going to stand up? Chucky Schumer is a joke.
he's dreadful.
Hakeem Jeffries, you haven't heard a whole lot from.
No, he's dumb as a rutabaga. I mean, I don't know. I mean, they've been auditioning people. I haven't seen anybody come in that I mean, I think Newsom seems to be bombing. His wife is crazy.
She's bad news.
Yeah, I mean, she's there talking about giving her children gender neutral toys, and I mean, I don't think that's going to run even in California. You know, and this other stuff. She said that Trump firing Pam Bondi and Christine Oaks because it's a war against women. I mean, I just don't think people are buying that kind of politics anymore. I hope not. I mean,
no, but I mean, you're raising the point. Who do they have on the bench? And if they think it's Newsom, they're sadly mistaken.
I think so.
Well, okay, so name somebody. Name a nationally known Democratic figure. You're hard pressed.
No, really nobody comes to mind. You know, I think they thought maybe Cory Booker. I mean, he's not good. I don't think they have anybody. No one. Oh yeah, I mean, sure, that's who's taking over the party, and I don't think that goes too far outside of her little rotten district in New York. You know, I mean, whatever. I mean, she's already flopped. So yeah, they don't have anyone, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to do something. Something they're going to pull.
I guess we'll have to wait and see what it is, and then, you know, of course, then we can talk about New York. What the heck is wrong with New York City?
I think that
AOC gets elected. Mondami, his wife is some sort of nutcase that they're trying to, you know, keep quiet now.
I think that's hurting them, and a lot of people predicted that it would. I mean, that it's kind of imploding. There's a lot of remorse. I think that now you have this cop killer let off by a liberal judge, and you've got. Yeah. I don't think that the judges, these liberal judges who are trying to obstruct President Trump. I mean, I don't think they're doing the Democratic Party any favors. It's not a good look. You know, you've got it's more obvious that they are corrupted by ideology and by, in many cases, by cash. So, you know, yeah, I mean, I think that there's going to be a slight turning, maybe even in New York, because I think that Mamdani, I mean, even if you like his politics, he's so ineffective, then such an empty suit that I think people are going to start to reconsider. I think at least some of them, they'll shave off the fluid.
The thing that worked for him was somehow he captured the nomination. I have no idea how, but he didn't run against anybody.
That's true.
And
Cuomo,
so you're telling me, so what's really pathetic to me, I don't know how many council districts they have in New York. There's dozens of them. You mean not one of those morons had enough gumption to try to run for mayor? It just, the politics are so weird. It's very hard for me to understand.
People have been terrified, maybe, Republicans, I'm talking, good Republicans, by 4 years of that illegitimate regime, putting people in prison, attacking people, smearing their reputation, their families, going after, you know, their kids. I mean, going after, you know, doing deep audits of their finances, just really, really ugly stuff that you'd expect. I mean, talk about, you know, fascism. You know, that's a classic case of psychological projection. I mean, you and I know all the stuff that went on during those years. It was scary and it was ugly. And I think that it scared off a lot of good people. And I think that was the reason why they did it. One of the reasons. I mean,
and this is why I have to salute Trump for not, kowtowing just because somebody died. Okay, newsflash, everybody dies. It's not a big deal, all right? So Robert Mueller dies, and Trump said, basically said that was a scumbag, which he
No,
was.
he was a monster. I mean, going back to when he was the, I think he was the district attorney in Boston. It was one of his first jobs. He was involved with putting these innocent men in prison, and eventually they sued, or their family sued, because two of them died in prison. And it was all Mueller. I think he was the federal prosecutor. The guys are real. This is like that whole thing with those brown shirts on that committee. People like Weisberg. These are very dangerous people. And Mark Elias. I've communicated with them through Twitter. I follow them. I mean, they want to put everyone away. I mean, they want to. They're not playing for keeps. I mean, their idea.
Trump was the only guy that had the stones to tell it like it is.
Exactly.
Okay?
It's amazing that Trump stood up to this. He didn't have to do it, and his family too. They didn't have to. I mean, you have to read Eric Trump's book. He talks about this. They had what they went through. He had to be brought before congressional committees for like hundreds of hours, and using all kinds of it. He did nothing. I mean, this is like this is what. So people look at that and they go, "Do I want to put myself, my family, my kids, my wife? Do I really want to do this?"
There was very little in the media about that, and I think the way Mueller was able to get away with this, he had this sort of patrician look to him.
Yeah.
And somehow, Yankees. Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, hey, he took a page out of the book of your buddy Welsh back in the day, right?
Bill Weld?
No. The guy in the Army McCarthy hearings.
Oh, Joe Welsh.
Yeah, right. You had this kind of smooth England thing, yes.
Have you no shame at long last? You're going to smear this young man. You have no shame. And then he leaves and he's like, laughing about it.
Yeah, no, people bought into that.
Well, it was a setup. I mean, and McCarthy stepped right in it. I mean, unfortunately, Joe McCarthy was not in the best of health, quite frankly, at that time. I mean, his idea of having a light day in terms of drinking was just beer. I mean, he was inebriated all the time. He was ill. He died shortly. I think he died like within 2 years of that hearing.
Right.
Unfortunately, I mean, look, they drove him to drink. It's sad. I mean, it's difficult. Look at me. Imagine what he went through. I mean, who knows? The kind of like politics that one. Well, if you really get in the arena like that, it's just really ugly. And I think that most average people don't have the stomach for it.
The sad part of that, for me, was that apparently it's worth destroying the country to keep your little scam going, right? I mean, it was so corrupt, and rather than clean it up, they kill the messenger, so to speak.
Yeah.
I guess that's always been the way.
I mean, this is history. I mean, the rotten. It's what Trump accurately calls the deep state, and I think that they have. I mean, he's made a lot of inroads, but they're still there. I mean, they're still running the Department of Justice, and I think Pam Bondi really didn't take them on like maybe she could have. I don't know why. But
she didn't really have the stomach for it. I think that one of the problems, I think, with putting a woman into a situation where she's got to be a killer, is that maternal instinct is going to kick in many of these people. She just didn't have the killer instinct. She just didn't want to.
She's a little too soft. I mean, I think she did some good things. I'm not going to dump on her, but you know, you need somebody in there who's.
Well, I think the reason she did get fired was she tipped off Swalwell, supposedly. Was
I
the
think it had to do with the Jeffrey Epstein thing. And I think that rumor has it, and again, who knows, that she might have even been involved with that. But putting all that aside, it looks like he might pick Lee Zeldin, who's a good guy. He's tough. Have you seen him on testify? I mean, he doesn't take prisoners.
Oh yeah.
And he's
Well,
actually.
I had a feeling that he was going to be this multi-use guy, right?
Yeah.
You bring him. Okay, we got to clean up EPA. We'll put Zeldin in. We're going to clean up Department of Justice.
He's already saved the taxpayers billions of dollars. Yeah. Doesn't make any bones about global warming being questionable theories. He's like, yeah, that's right, it is.
Well, now that the global warming thing is dying down a little bit.
Yeah.
The next one they're trying to bring up is microplastics. And you talk about bad science. Oh, my word.
What's the deal with
that? They take out this giant study. There's microplastics all over. And then they came out with this thing, well, maybe it came off the gloves we were using in the lab. It's like, holy cow. Who's paying for this crap? And I maintain, boy, I got in a lot of trouble when I was more active in these societies. They said you could cut the entire science research budget of the United States in half, and you're not going to miss anything other than white man welfare for these useless academics. But in terms of actual science going on, please.
Oh, I mean, look, a lot of the money went to DEI and trying to trans mice or whatever. I mean, I don't know, just weird kind of stuff, and a lot of it went overseas. Look, Trump is trying to take that on. The only thing stopping him are these damn federal judges, quite frankly, who've just suddenly decided that the Constitution says that Planned Parenthood gets several $1 billion a year. I guess that's in the Constitution, according to a federal judge who will remain nameless.
How did that, you've got some connections in that field. How did the judiciary get to the sorry state it is?
A lot of these people are put in there by Biden, by Obama. There are these organizations, most of them are in Washington, D.C., that just went into high gear when Trump was elected to try to oppose him on every single thing he did. Every single executive order would be challenged. They would pick people in the different states. They handpicked the judges. They shopped around and found judges like Boasberg and they just figured that maybe it's the Piven Cloward thesis, overwhelm the system with challenges. And I think Pam Bondi was picked apart in that way. The Department of Justice, how many times? I mean, they're telling them you can't fire people. They're telling RFK Jr. he can't fire people in his own department. Where in the Constitution does it say this? And then when you read the decision, which I've done, by the way, on that one, it is worse than even what the media says it is. It's like, we need to have honest science, they're telling us. This judge, where do they get off telling us what is honest science? All of a sudden they have to keep these, they can't have Dr. Malone in there. Oh, really? I mean, because it's not, it's almost, the ultimate worst example of all. And the one that goes to the core of the corruption right now is the Tina Peters case. She was put in prison, this 70-year-old woman who had lung cancer and who's never done a negative thing in her life and who's a Gold Star mother. She was a county clerk in Colorado who kept the records after that 2020 election because she saw that there was something going wrong.
Right.
She took pictures of it, and then she alerted the media. Maybe a misdemeanor. I don't think so. I think she was doing her job. But what they did was they put him in prison for 9 years, and she's still in prison now.
Well, here's the other thing, though. How come? I think in the whole U.S. history, I think there's only been 2 federal judges impeached. It's some ridiculously low number. Why did they ever impeach these people?
I mean, it's a great question. I mean, I don't know why. Congress doesn't have the spine to do it; they have to vote on it. I think it's going to be the only way to take them on, and the only way to do this is going to be that we have to wait till we're all dead. It's going to take like 30, 40 years down the road of presidents like Trump, hopefully, God willing, who are going to appoint people that actually have a constitutional background, and that these people are just going to have to die out. They'll never get rid of them. You need, though, a couple of good patriotic judges who actually read the Constitution, who can overthrow their decisions. I'm not confident that the Supreme Court is set up that way when I look at people like Amy Coney Barrett. I mean, horrible. And Roberts, I mean, they're like, I mean, it's bad, very bad.
I don't really understand what her problem is. I've been trying to figure that out. And
Yeah.
she calls herself conservative, but I haven't seen it in practice.
It's a lot like you find these people like this guy Tillis in North Carolina. It's a conservative state. It's a red state. A Democrat is not likely to win an election, so they register as a Republican.
Yeah, right.
That's all that is. They're Democrats. I mean, he's a liberal Democrat. There's absolutely no evidence otherwise. People like Murkowski in Alaska, right? Very conservative state. Susan Collins. I mean, these people are liberals.
Well, what is the story with Susan Collins? I mean, in the case of Lisa Murkowski, she was a Nepo baby.
Yeah, her
now,
father.
why she keeps getting reelected, I don't know. How did Collins get in the first place?
I don't know a lot about the history of it. She's actually not as bad as Murkowski. Once in a while, she shows a little independence, but she's maybe that's the best we can hope for in New England. I don't know.
Well, isn't Maine the first state to come up with a law against data centers?
Against what?
Against data centers.
I don't know.
They use too much power or whatever.
They back up to all that power. I'm not sure. I don't know about that. I know that Maine right now is having a big Somali scandal. They're covering it up, and they're having the same bull crap that's going on in Minneapolis. With people.
You live there. What is the deal with these northern New England states, where you originally thought of it as these rock hard conservative, guy in a Johnston Woolen Mills jacket tapping the tree for syrup or whatever. How did they go this way?
I don't know. I know with Vermont, they basically these New York left-wing Jews like Bernie Sanders moved there. Yeah. Is how they went that way, and basically the people of Vermont were actually very conservative. They're just pushed out. They've been pushed aside. And Howard Dean, remember him? A New York non-Jew leftist. Not to pick on the Jews.
What is Howard Dean doing now?
I don't know. I remember when I was doing the show with Patrick O'Heffernan, we had Howard Dean on the show. He had spoken at the Democratic convention, and it was this crazy speech. Or as a racist, and this one's racist, and sexists, and this and that. And I asked him for evidence of, this is before Trump, that somebody was racist, and he goes, well, because they embraced the theory that Barack Obama was not born in the United States, that his birth certificate, and that's racist because Obama's black. And I was like, well, wait a minute. It was actually Hillary Clinton who brought that one up during the campaign against him. She started the Whisper campaign. And he's like, oh, well, I haven't heard that. He didn't doubt it. Is she a racist? Anyway, but
Well, I did like the Howard Dean "I Have a Scream" speech. That was,
Yahoo! Yahoo!
yeah.
Oh man, yeah, that was. I mean, he really regretted that. Who knows what that was about? It was one of those moments.
I think there was more behind it because I think they were trying to find a way to push him out because
The wheels are already going off anyway. But
I mean, if you listen to it, and I'm saying this as a conservative, right? It wasn't really that bad, but somehow there was this media firestorm.
well, it was one of those moments that you can't unsee it once you see it. It just maybe it's a cultural thing. I mean, you've heard me make reference to the Wellstone funeral. It's it's like one of these moments that can change history because it's nothing even that's necessarily said, or it's like Welsh with his have you no pride, sir?
Have you no shame?
Have you no shame? I mean, these things can create, and it's very manipulative. I mean, the Wellstone funeral. I mean, everybody saw how rotten and out of their minds the left was at that memorial event for Wellstone. He died in a plane crash along with his son and someone else in the plane. He was a liberal champion, but he was also not a bad guy. I mean, he had friends on both sides. And during that event, some of the conservative Republicans who were friends, or personal friends, wanted to come and be part of it. And they were told not to. They would stay away. You're not invited. I think it was Trent Lott, I think it was, and some others. And it turned into this left-wing rally where they really kind of showed their colors. I mean, and all televised. And the whole country saw this, and it was like, these people are crazy. I mean, you saw Bill and Hillary Clinton, their faces all twisted in hate, and looking really like ashen, and everybody's like, it was just horrible. And I think that's what led to the demise of John Kerry. After that, the Democrats could not win.
I think you're right. Although I have seen in my own personal experience where funerals get hijacked, and someone will get on there and go on to some rant. I have seen that a couple of times, believe it or not.
Kind of with Jesse Jackson's funeral. I mean, they used that as a chance to attack Trump. Trump actually was a personal friend of Jesse Jackson's.
Yeah.
They actually knew each other for years, and Trump gave money to him, and yet he wasn't invited. It was all these, and then you had Obama, whom Jackson hated, getting up and giving this phony speech, awful, this so like dripping with innuendo and the typical crap. I mean, people don't want to hear that anymore. I don't think. But anyhow,
so in other news.
In other news, King Charles II failed to give the Easter message to the British public, although he did give an Eid and a Ramadan message. Thank you very much. So the excuse came out that, and it made no sense, right? Well, technically, it's not mandatory to give an Easter message. We give the Christmas message. And it's just pathetic. And I was talking to some people over the weekend. Again, they talk about the royal family, but every conversation is, well, this one isn't as bad as that one. Okay? No, I mean, think about it. Charles didn't say, he's not a loser like Andrew. Okay. That's pretty low bar.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what it is. So King George the Fifth, was it? Well, he wasn't like the other one who abdicated, right? And then, well, Queen Elizabeth wasn't as bad as it, but no one's actually done anything positive that I can think about. And how hard is it to give the Easter message? Well, I guess you're afraid if you think the country is going Muslim
Right.
but yet you're supposedly the defender of the faith,
I mean,
right?
well, they actually have changed that. I mean, he's technically the head of the Church of England as king.
Yeah, well,
Didn't they
yeah.
drop the word the? Now they just say defender of faith.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in other words, I mean, this is what I mean. Dr. V. Michael Jones, I think, is actually right about this. He says the Protestant movement is gone. It's like it stands for nothing. It's all controlled by lesbians. It's all including this new Archbishop of Canterbury. It has no. It doesn't have any more. Everything's out the window. It's just and it's vanishing, and people are leaving it in the droves. It's no longer. It's lost its center. It's lost its relevancy.
Well, it has, and this has been going on for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, I was, God, probably in the 90s, I think, was at a big high church service in the UK, and it was obvious that it was a social club, is
Right.
what it amounted to. I'm not saying there aren't Catholics that may fit into that category, but there just is no there.
No, it's all like this. They're sitting around with guitars doing a hoot nanny and talking about right, and they're talking about inclusion and all that crap. I mean, which if you think about it, technically, if you're spending all your time talking about how you're including everyone else, what about saying who you are? I remember years ago when I was starting out the radio, I did a whole series on religions, and I had various religious figures come up to do some broadcasting. It was interesting. And I had two people come up from the Unitarian Church.
Oh boy.
And this was like one of the main Unitarian churches in the country, the one where the Adams presidents are in a crypt in the basement. It's in Quincy. Very important church, interesting place. They were great men. I mean, I think that's when Unitarianism actually stood for something. And my first question was, can you give me a thumbnail on what it is that the Unitarians believe? Just what is it? What is your belief system? What do you believe in? And their answer was, well, it's funny you should bring that up, Chuck, because we have a convention coming up in March where we're going to be figuring that out and talking about it.
We're going to be figuring it out.
We're going to have a vote on it. I'm like, look, a religion is not a democracy. It's not a government. It's a theology. If you want to have a vote, go to your city council. It's like, I mean, it's like would I say to like my synagogue, oh, we're going to have a vote on whether or not ham should be declared kosher? No, it's like it goes back thousands of years. These are ideas that were established. Do you believe in anything? I mean, is there any kind of like guideposts that give you a reason? I mean, if it's just going to be a social club,
yeah, why? But that's too judgmental, man.
I mean, if you want a social club, you go to the YMCA. It's like, why have a church? Why put why put a imprimatur of a church on it? But so I think that's the direction of the Protestant church. And I think that the Anglicans, my understanding is that they're probably very close to Catholicism. I mean, they're
no,
but they're not. Even them. I mean, they seem either that or you have these guys like, who is that minister? He's like he's very like has the big teeth and he's with a suit and he's like traveling. I mean, Austin, I think. Joel Austin.
Oh, yeah.
And it's vulgar. How many, they found like a wall with money in it that, he's like mega, lifestyle and just, really like living high on the hog. I mean, it's kind of vulgar. And is that what it's come down to? I'm not saying that they were all like that.
I mean, there was no structure. I mean, certainly they broke away for a stupid reason when Henry VIII
right.
had his divorce and so on.
Mm-hmm.
They did maintain some identity with at least trying to be close to a Catholic liturgy, but that deteriorated. And now it's really about being inclusive. And for some reason, and again, this I don't fully understand. Why do there have to be so many lesbians in it? What is the deal with that?
I know, and they have all the science. I mean, every one of these liberal Protestant churches in Boston, they fly what I call the apple pie and motherhood placards. We believe in science. Really? What is a woman? Huh? I don't think so. Yeah. Anyway, but the point is that yeah, it's dominated by them, and at the same time, younger people are coming back to faith in terms of becoming Catholic.
I was going to tell you something. I'm glad you mentioned that. All right, the Easter Vigil service,
right,
which is Saturday evening, is the most solemn mass of the year. And one of the things that's done is we bring in the new catechumens.
Right.
And I've been, going to these for, a lot of years, right? Mm-hmm. Typically, there'll be 5, 10. Past Saturday, in our parish, there were 45 catechumens, all right?
And by that, you mean new priests, right?
No. New members of the church.
Oh, okay.
That are brought in at the Easter Vigil. All right, 45 in a relatively small parish.
Mm-hmm.
All right, U.S. nationwide, 100,000.
Wow.
Worldwide, 1 million supposedly.
Wow, and that doesn't even include China, which is probably that's underground.
So,
no, that's huge. I think that Catholics, the church is growing. Eastern Orthodox is growing. Yeah. Orthodox Judaism is growing. People of faith. I mean, the churches that maintain a connection to the Bible, they maintain traditions, they maintain ethical and moral standards. They're not caving to the woke. They're thriving, and younger people are going. I think that people are looking. I remember an interview of all people with J.D. Vance. He's Catholic because he converted to Catholicism, and I was asked why, and he's like, well, look, I wanted something that had a little bit more connection to history, some more ritual to it, some more, some substance. And I think that a lot of Protestants are realizing that, younger people, that they don't want to have to just go to this thing where it's a love-in, where people sit around and they talk about who they're tolerating. They want some structure. You want to have some. Yeah, right. You want to have a bit of a structure.
I think we could draw that analogy to what we talked about last time, where these buses were pulling up in nursing homes, bringing people to demonstrations. I hope that that's all dying off. All right.
Well, that's a religion. Talk about religions. I mean, it's a religion based on grievance, and it's sort of, in a sense, it's the converse to the Protestant phenomena, which is we love everybody and we get along with everybody else. We tolerate this group, we tolerate that group, without actually saying who they are.
Yeah.
In the case of the No King's faith, it's all we hate, Trump, we hate everybody, and that's what brings us together, our shared hatreds, and and it becomes like a cult.
It is encouraging, though, to see the young people, to some extent anyway, turning away from this, and they just want some substance.
Yeah, yes,
they're tired of this stuff, and to people my age that seemingly got lost in 1968, it's over. It's
exactly. Put away the joints and put away the tie-dye T-shirts. It's all over, right? The Grateful Dead, the concerts. Woodstock happened now 50 years ago. I mean, people, it's a different world now. Anyways, but just to wrap things up, I mean, it's an ominous couple of days, according to President Trump. with regard to actions in Iran. Let's hope and let's pray that whatever happens, it happens quickly and it ends it quickly, and it ends it with a decisive victory.
Well, at some point, there's going to be enough of a movement of the 80 at least % people in Iran that are against this government to take some action on their own.
Well, that's what has to happen, and I appreciate the fact that they're scared. Iran is executing people. You know, I mean,
40,000.
Yeah. I had a conversation with this young Iranian guy who's a student at BU who told me that he had a couple of friends go back to Iran and they were killed.
Yeah.
You know, because they were just to visit. It's very, very dangerous and frightening. And that's, you know, so I understand, and I sympathize with the fact that people are still afraid to come out. But I think that they might. I mean, if the United States persists, then it could reach a level of a tipping point. Let's hope and let's pray. Anyway, Mike, so what do you have coming up in the Substack?
Oh, man. So I took a few days off from writing that stuff. I had there's a number of things going on. I have to crystallize it. I've been remiss, which, by the way, is the main reason that. I mean, not that it's not that you want to charge for this stuff, but what a great reason for not charging is that, if the content slips for a couple of weeks, they're not going to come to me with pitchforks.
No, and I linked to your Substack on the show in case anybody.
Thank you. And what about your book? How's that doing now, the latest?
Okay. I mean, let me just, actually, I have a copy of it right here.
Yeah, you have to, book plug. All right, there it is. And say the title out loud because it's coming out backwards on the camera.
Oh, okay.
Red Pill Social Theory.
Yes. Cracking the Woke Mind Virus, available at all of your Amazon. You get a soft cover or online. What do you think of that cover?
That is nice.
It's interesting.
Do you have all the copyright availability on that?
These are all,
Jesus up there. Now,
yeah.
Who took that picture? Wow.
Well, I took generic, common property pictures. This is, common domain. These aren't copyright. But I mean, there's the red side and there's the blue side.
Oh yeah.
On the red side, I have Tina Peters, and then on the blue side, I have that witch from Colorado who's the Attorney General Griswold, like a Hitler-like figure. Anyway, so there it is. Check it out. Available at Amazon. So far,
it's worth buying just for the cover.
Yeah, I haven't done much to promote it, but it's fine. Now I'm working I'm taking the class on Islam. And I'm already starting a book on that. So it's interesting, some of the things I'm reading on that.
Why don't you go on E. Michael Jones' show and do your book plug?
I should. He came on with me about 3 weeks ago. He wanted to talk about his book, and we had a pretty civil conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that I kind of have figured out how not to get emotional, and I carefully prepared for it, and I took him apart, and and I noticed that he didn't post it either. Anyways,
all right.
So I shall see. I'll talk to you. We'll keep the show on Monday. I like this time. Is this
okay?
You
like the Monday? Yeah.
Yeah.
Way to start the week,
Exactly at 7:00 p.m. Eastern.
All right. Be there or be square.
Indeed.